Pleasant day, future teachers. Today we'll be having our first lesson in SEM 12 or the number theory. So, of course, since we are talking about number theory, let's talk about numbers and the importance of number sense. Before that, let us just have this a little humor. This is a joke wherein only good in math can relate. As you can see in the figure, the student and the teacher, the student told to his teacher, to show you how well I understand fractions, I only did half of my homework. You see that? The student know the meaning of fraction already. What is number sense? Number sense can be described as a good intuition about numbers and their relationships. It develops gradually as a result of exploring numbers, visualizing them in a variety of contexts, and relating them in ways that are not limited by traditional algorithms. So, as you progress in mathematics, you will be developing different ways of adding, different ways of multiplying, different ways of solving problems using your own idea. So that is number sense. Nagkakaroon na kayo ng sarili ninyong paraan papaano isolve ang isang mathematical problem. So at this point, now that you are already a third year BSE mathematics major, I believe you already have some styles and strategies that you yourself can use in solving mathematical equations because you already have this number sense. Okay. So relationships, what are those relationships? Number one, spatial relationships or recognizing how many without counting by seeing a pattern. We'll discuss that deeper later. One and two more, one and two less. This is not the ability to count on two or count back two, but instead knowing which numbers are one and two less or more than any given number. Number three, benchmarks of 5 and 10. 10 plays such an important role in our number system. 10, and since two fives make up 10, 5 is also one of the numbers which plays such an important role in our number system. Children must know how numbers relate to 5 and 10. And then the last one, the last relationship is the part-part whole, wherein seeing a number as being made up of two or more parts. Okay, let us discuss this one by one. Spatial relationships gives children a visual to go along with number instead of just the abstract numeral. So instead of this one, yung mga kabataan or tayo, parang nabi-visualize natin, ano ba yung 9? Ano? Ayan. So, this is one way of visualizing what 9 is. And then, this is 6. So, as you can see, by 5, by 5 yung squares. Pero, ang na-fill in lang dito ay hanggang 4th dito sa second row. Dito naman, ang na-fill in lang ay yung first square sa second row. So, parang nagkakaroon tayo ng visualization sa mga numbers. Instead of just the numerals, meron tayong visual representation. That's a spatial relationship. And then the one or two more and less, the spatial relationships helps build the idea of one or two more and less in this problem because it gives children a concrete way to see that 9 is just one less than 10. Okay? So from this, makikita natin, magkakaroon ng realization yung bata na ang 9 pala ay 1 less than 10. Kasi bawasan mo lang ng isa yung 10, 9 na pala siya. Dito naman pwedeng maging realization ng bata, 6 pala is 5 plus 1. Okay, so ganun na. 5 greater 1. Ayan. So, may relasyon din yung spatial saka yung one or two more and less. And then, benchmarks of 5 and 10. Having the objects placed into the 10 frame sequentially helps children develop an understanding of how that number relates to 5. No matter how objects are placed in a 10 frame, the visual created helps children see how the amount relates to the benchmark of 10. As you can see, 5 and 10 are very much special because we can easily count numbers by 5, and then we can easily count numbers by 10. So, special sila kasi madali tayo makapagbilang ng by 5 saka ng by 10. Maybe because of the concept of exactness. No? Kasi pag sinabi nating 10, sakto yan. Ano? Tapos kalahati ng 10 is 5. Kaya parang madali. The same is true with our hands kasi, di ba? Our hand has 5 fingers, kaya mas madali nating makapagbilang ng by 5. And then the last one is the part whole. There are too many children who only see 6 is just 6. They do not understand how it can be broken down into parts that create the whole 6. So, pwedeng 5 and 1 para magkaroon ng 6. O kaya naman 3 and 3 para magkaroon ng 6. If you wanna know more about this relationship, please visit this link para magkaroon pa kayo ng other learning about that. So all those are the different relationships that we may have in the number sense. Okay. Why are these relationships so important to develop before we accept children to be fluent in mathematics, fluent in numbers? So, if we just allow students to memorize their math facts, for example, we just allow them to memorize the numbers from 1 to 100, that makes no sense, no? Kasi hindi naman nila alam ang ibig sabihin nun. I still remember when we were in grade 3 or 4, our teachers let us memorize the multiplication table without even knowing the real definition or real what is happening when we multiply, because that is really the practice, you memorize first and then afterwards you will know the relationship existing between and among numbers. Then we end up with high school children still counting on their fingers. Kapag nakita natin yung mga high school students natin who are still counting on their fingers, that means hindi na-develop yung number sets nila. Okay? And then, it is also important that children develop a conceptual understanding and the relationships before we ask them to compute. Ayun. So, dapat pala daw, ang mga students, ang mga bata, naiintindihan muna talaga ang konsepto ng numbers at ang mga relationship existing between and among these numbers before we let them compute. Alright, so these are the resources. By the way, this PowerPoint presentation is I just download this PowerPoint presentation from the internet. So these are the resources. You can also visit all these links if you want to know more about number sense. For early numeracy counting, the importance is still the importance of number sense. Number one, sabitizing. Number two, verbal counting, object counting, then counting and cardinality. So let us discuss this one by one. Alright. What do we mean by sabitizing? Alright. So here is the power of sabitizing. How to implement numbers and still teach your curriculum. Okay. Have you ever had a student that when you put up 4 fingers and ask them, how many fingers do I have? Then they had to count each finger one by one. That happens way too often in early elementary classroom. Those children can count, but they are not sabitizing. Ibig sabihin, pag nakita nila yung four fingers, hindi nila agad nare-recognize na four yun. So, para malaman nila, bago nila malaman na four yun, magsisimula sila sa one at bibilangin nila yun. Hindi yun sabitizing, no? They are not sabitizing. And without being able to sabitize, a child will never move past counting on their fingers to add and subtract. So, ibig sabihin, kung hindi nakakapag-sabitize ang mga students natin, then mahirapan tayo dun. Ano? So, hindi kasi nila na-visualize ano ba talaga ang number. Okay? Ano ba talaga yung visual representation ng number. Okay, next. The next one is the verbal counting. Okay. So what do you mean by verbal counting here? So I'm expecting that at this point in time already, since you are already third year students who are taking up PSE major in mathematics, you can now sabitize. No, you can now visualize things. Hindi na kayo magka-count ng isa-isa. No? So like for example, may pinresent sa inyo a number of uh, ball pens. Hindi niyo na bibilangin isa-isa yon. Ano? Hindi niyo na uh, sisimulan sa one. Okay, so verbal counting. So here is counting tells how many things are in a set. When counting a set of objects, the last word in the counting sequence names the quantity. That's right. Totoo naman. Kung ano yung huli, then that's the quantity of the number. Okay, so dito tayo dinala. Ayan, quantity and the ability to sabitize. Ayan pa rin siya. No? So these are the okay, early counting. Meaningful counting activities begin when children are 3 and 4 years of age. But by the end of kindergarten, children should be able to count to 100. Imagine that. Kailangan daw at the end of kinder, nakakabilang na siya ng 100. Verbal counting, ibig sabihin you count 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Okay, so yun yun. Kaya siya tinawag na verbal counting. Next, object counting. So, yung object counting naman, may mga objects of course. Ano? One notebook, two notebooks, three notebooks. Okay. And then counting and cardinality. Cardinality, we know that the number of elements in a set. No? So, ganun din, para counting lang din siya. Nalalaman lang natin how many are the numbers. Like for example, in a bookshelf, there are 10 books there, then the cardinality is 10. A few tools, ayan, if you want to know more about uh, numeracy counting, you can visit all these links in YouTube para mapanood. What do you think? Okay. So based in your opinion, here is the situation. Many first grade classrooms have a number line along the classroom. You know the number line with 0 as the center, right side are the positive numbers and the left side are the negative numbers. Nakapakato yon sa wall ng mga classrooms on every child or pwede rin naman sa desk ng students. New research has shown that number lines are conceptually too difficult for young children. Where actually, ang number line naman talaga inaaral pag nasa grade 7 na. No? Kasi meron na siyang negative numbers, integers. So instead, we should be using number pads. Ano yung itsura ng number pads? Nagsisimula yan sa 1, composed of rectangles. Rectangles, then inside the rectangles are the numbers. So, mas maganda daw yung number path according to Fuson et al. In 2009. What do you think? Mas okay ba talaga ang number lines or mas okay ang number paths? Okay, so you just comment in this video kung ano ang inyong palagay when it comes to this situation. Okay, so number paths, as I mentioned earlier, ayan yon, yung may mga rectangle, yung number line naman, a model. Each number is represented by its length 0. So, magsisimula kasi sa 0 yon. Then, yung distansya ng number mula dun sa 0, that's the number. Okay? Whereas the number paths, the units are easy to recognize. A number path is a count model. A count model meaning you start with 1, 2, 3, and so on. And are represented by rectangle. Sometimes, number paths are colorful. By 5, ang pagpapalit ng color. By 5, puro blue. By 6 to 10 naman ay red. Something like that. Okay, so that's the difference between number path and number line. So, the references, ayan siya. Okay, presented by Edwina Perrin. So, she is the owner of this presentation. So, that would be all for this first discussion. Keep safe, everyone, and happy learning.